Hello students, welcome to the new lecture, and in this lecture we are going to discuss about the cellular respiration. So first of all, what is meant by cellular respiration? Cellular respiration means inside the cell the glucose is utilized. The glucose combines with oxygen to produce the energy. It means in the cellular respiration the food material is utilized completely by using oxygen. That is known as cellular respiration. So here this cellular respiration is a pathway in which energy is released from the chemical bonds of the glucose molecule. So the glucose molecule C6H12O6. Okay, let us consider this is the sugar or glucose. So the bonds are present between the atoms. So these bonds are broken down. When the bonds are broken down, the energy will be released. This energy will be stored in the form of ATP. It means ADP is going to turn into ADP. Here the energy is invested. By investing energy, the ADP molecules are converted into ATP molecules. This is known as energy currency of cell. Okay, so this is this ATP is very important for the cellular respiration. This is essential for the life process. Okay, it means to live the organism to live it, to be in the living condition. This is most important. Okay, next, cellular respiration may be aerobic. Okay, maybe aerobic respiration or anaerobic respiration. What is aerobic respiration? If the organism is using the oxygen for the cellular respiration, that is known as aerobic. Aerobic means utilization of the oxygen. So what is anaerobic? Anaerobic means no utilization of the oxygen. So this is only the difference. So aerobic respiration occurs in all organisms, especially human beings. Okay, but in some organisms anaerobic respiration will occur. Example, yeast, fermentation. Okay, and so on. These are the processes where you will see there is no utilization of the oxygen. That is known as anaerobic respiration. So here you can see aerobic respiration. The cellular respiration in the presence of oxygen is known as aerobic respiration. So this aerobic respiration is usually occurring in the cytoplasm. So what is meant by cytoplasm? Cytoplasm means inside the cell there is a fluid-like substance. Let us consider this is a cell. Okay, the cell contains what? Cell organelles. One of the cell organelle is nucleus. Okay, mitochondria, Golgi apparatus. Okay, these are ribosomes, rough endoplasmic reticulum, and so on. So these all organelles are present in the fluid-like substance. This fluid-like substance is known as cytoplasm. So the semi-solid fluid-like substance is known as cytoplasm. Okay. So what happening here in the aerobic respiration? The cellular respiration, it is usually occurring in the presence of oxygen. Usually occurs in the cytoplasm. Okay, in the cytoplasm, this aerobic respiration is going to occur, and in the mitochondria, it is going to occur the another process like glucose breakdown is occurring in the cytoplasm, leads to formation of two pyruvate molecules. These two pyruvate molecules are going to enter into mitochondria. It is the structure of the mitochondria. Okay, so here up to here it is in the cytoplasm. From here to here, okay, it is going to occur in the mitochondria. Okay, so here for the breakdown of the glucose, no oxygen is essential. But to break down of the pyruvates in the mitochondria, the oxygen is essential. Okay, so more amount of ATP is produced in the mitochondria. Once the pyruvates are entering into the mitochondria, more amount of ATP is produced. The mitochondria is known as the powerhouse of the cell. Why the mitochondria is powerhouse of the cell? Why? Because it is going to produce a more amount of ATP molecules. So it is known as powerhouse of the cell. Okay. So next, the anaerobic respiration. So what is anaerobic respiration? It means the respiration in the absence of oxygen, that is known as anaerobic respiration. It occurs in the absence of oxygen, usually in the cytoplasm only. In the aerobic respiration, what we have seen, the glucose in the cytoplasm. Okay, and after the cytoplasm, the pyruvates are entering into the mitochondria. Okay, so this is in the aerobic respiration. In the aerobic respiration, the glucose is broken into pyruvates. Okay, and so on. Such kind of process occurs in the cytoplasm only. There is no need of the mitochondria in the anaerobic respiration. Okay, So generally, such kind of anaerobic respiration is going to occur in the prokaryotic cells. Prokaryotic cells means like bacteria. Okay, they do not have any cell, they do not have any nuclear membrane, they do not have the most of the cell organelles and so on. They are known as that is known as anaerobic respiration occurring in the prokaryotic cells. Anaerobic respiration in animals produces lactic acid. Okay, in animals like human beings, in your body also, it means in the human beings also anaerobic respiration will occur. If the anaerobic respiration is occurring in the human beings, that leads to the production of the lactic acid. Okay, like glucose molecules going to produce into lactic acid in the presence of anaerobic respiration. In the presence, in the process of the anaerobic respiration, the glucose molecules are getting converted into lactic acid. Okay, so in this case, very less amount of ATP is produced. If you compare with ADP, if you compare with aerobic respiration, more amount of ATP is produced in the which in it is in the aerobic, it is in the aerobic more amount of ATP. In anaerobic, okay, in anaerobic less amount of ATP is produced. That is only the difference between aerobic and anaerobic. Okay, so aerobic respiration in prokaryotes is a fermentation, usually produces ethyl alcohol and lactic acid. So the substance becomes sour. If you see after the fermentation of any food material or any fruit or anything, you will see the food material taste will be little bit sour in taste, means the taste of the lemon will be there. Okay, whether it may be dosa batter or idli batter. So after one night, if you keep it more time for the fermentation, after certain long time, the batter will become sour in taste. Why? Because there is a production of the lactic acid. Okay, so and in some kind of fermentation, ethyl alcohol also produced. Okay, so breakdown of the glucose and release of energy occurs in a series of the small steps. Okay, in a series of small steps that is will be seen. Okay, so the produced energy, whatever the organisms are going to produce energy with the help of aerobic respiration or anaerobic respiration, whatever the respiration may be, the energy is stored in the form of ATP. ATP means adenosine triphosphate. ADP means adenosine diphosphate. Here we are calling it as ATP, means adenosine triphosphate. It is also known as energy currency of cell. Why? Because the energy, these ATP molecules are very important for the functioning of the cell or functioning of the body. So here the ATP supplies the energy when the cells need. Okay, ATP molecules gives around 7,200 calories of energy. So if one ATP is broken down, so the energy is stored in the form of phosphate bonds. So what is phosphate bonds? This is adenosine. Okay, so adenosine means adenine plus a sugar. So here there will be a phosphates, 3 phosphates. Hence we are calling it as a triphosphate. So can you see the bonds over here? These bonds are known as energy bonds. So these bonds are going to store energy. So whatever the energy that you get from the breakdown of the glucose molecule bonds, those energy is used in the buildup of these phosphate bonds. Okay, so energy stored in the form of phosphate bonds. When the phosphate bond is broken down, stored energy is released. Let us consider it is breakdown. So one phosphate will come out. Okay, then the ADP will come. ADP means only 2 phosphates. Okay, so along with it there is a production of the energy. The energy is released. What energy is released? The stored energy will be released. Okay, so this is about it. And next is the release of energy. In what way the energy is going to release? The energy is released in many ways. Okay, the first one is there are 2 ways. So first of all, what is going to happen? The first of all, the glucose molecule is going to break down into pyruvates. So how many molecules are the pyruvates? 2 molecules of the pyruvates is formed. So these pyruvate molecules may undergo aerobic respiration or anaerobic respiration. For example, if it is human being or if it is some kind of animal, it is going to enter into aerobic respiration, and in the process of the aerobic respiration, carbon dioxide will be produced, water energy will be produced. That process will occur. So as a result, the example is plant and animals. The plants and animals, such kind of aerobic respiration is going to occur. For example, if it is bacteria, the absence of low oxygen is seen. As a result, lactic acid is produced, and it in case of bacteria. Okay, lactic acid energy will be produced in case of bacteria, and in case of yeast, ethanol, carbon dioxide energy will be produced. Just now we have said, depending upon the type of bacteria and type of media, the lactic acid, ethanol, and also carbon dioxide will be produced. Okay. So next is, the glucose is commonly used for deriving energy. What is the glucose? It is a product of the photosynthesis. After the photosynthesis, the glucose molecules are produced. In plants, animals, and microorganisms, the glucose is oxidized into two stages. Okay, so in the first stage, that is conversion of the glucose molecules into pyruvate. Here you can see the first stage. The first stage is glucose molecule is converted into pyruvate. So this is important. The first stage, the glucose molecule is converted into pyruvates. So next is the second stage, oxygen is present. Oxygen is present. Then the pyruvic acid is going to is oxidized to carbon dioxide. It means the glucose molecules is going to convert into two molecules of the pyruvates. Okay, two molecules of the pyruvates. Okay, so these pyruvates may undergo, if is oxygen is present, it undergo aerobic respiration. Okay, in that the carbon dioxide is converted into carbon dioxide, means the glucose is converted into, or the glucose is oxidized into carbon dioxide in case of aerobic respiration. So here the same, if the oxygen is not present, it is going to undergo anaerobic respiration. Anaerobic respiration, it is going to convert into carbon dioxide. Okay, what it may be, whether it may be aerobic or anaerobic, carbon dioxide is formed. Okay, so along with the carbon dioxide, some products like energy and also some kind of lactic acid or alcohol is produced. So here lactic acid, along with the production of little amount of energy, that is 1/10 is produced in with adequate amount of oxygen. Okay, and so on. So here is the question: do cells of alveoli of lungs require oxygen to carry out the respiration? Yes, whether it may be alveoli cells or whether it may be muscle cells or skin cells, whatever the cell may be, they need oxygen. Okay, they need oxygen for the survival. So can energy be released without oxygen? So yes, the energy will be released without oxygen, that is anaerobic respiration. Here the ATP that is present already will be utilized during the strenuous exercise. Here this subheading will be about the human beings. During the exercise, during strenuous exercise, okay, so you will not get enough amount of oxygen. It means your muscle cells will not get enough amount of oxygen. Then how they are going to do the process? How they are going to produce the how they are going to work without oxygen? So there is a process. That process is known as anaerobic respiration. In the anaerobic respiration, due to the lack of oxygen, so only little bit amount of oxygen is present. That oxygen is not at all sufficient. So it is going to undergo anaerobic respiration. Means the without oxygen, the glucose molecules are broken down. Okay, in the anaerobic respiration, leading to the production of the carbon dioxide plus lactic acid. Okay, so this is about how the energy is produced. So the ATP present in the muscles lasts for only half a second. It means very less time during the vigorous exercise. Vigorous means so more exercise, more and fast exercise. So if you observe the blood in one approved study, the blood before after the exercise, so example bicycle riding, treadmill, etc. If you compare the blood glucose level in these people, they show a lot of differences. Okay, a lot of differences like lactic acid accumulation in blood. Okay, during strenuous exercise, next causes of the muscle pain, etc. These all are the conditions that will be seen in these individuals. Okay, so then the lactic acid is slowly removed from the blood after the exercise, and so on. This process will occur and so on. So here the sugar changed into lactic acid in muscles. Lactic acid has a less energy when compared to the sugar. Okay, so if you compare the amount of sugar between the lactic acid and sugar, which one has the less amount of energy? The lactic acid has the less amount of energy. But even though they have the less energy, lactic acid has some amount of energy. This lactic acid is used to produce ATP from the ADP. Means the ADP molecules, okay, in the presence of lactic acid is used to produce ATP molecules. Okay, so this is the difference. The anaerobic breakdown of glucose releases lactic acid. Anaerobic means what? In the absence of oxygen. In the absence of oxygen, the glucose molecule is broken down to produce a lactic acid. Okay. The deficiency of oxygen in the strenuous exercise is known as oxygen depth. What is oxygen depth? First of all, what is the meaning of debt? Debt is nothing but some amount of money or something is taken from someone. Okay, that is known as debt. Here the oxygen is not there. Okay, deficiency of oxygen is known as oxygen debt. Is a less amount of oxygen is there. Such kind of term, such kind of procedure is known, such kind of thing is known as oxygen debt. So this oxygen debt will be recovered later. It means after some time, when you take rest, after strenuous exercise, if you take rest, in that condition, this lactic acid will be removed slowly. Okay. So here the question is, after undergoing strenuous exercise, we feel pain in the muscles. Does the adequate oxygen reach muscles? Okay, the question is no. Oxygen is not produced provided adequately to the cells for during strenuous exercise. As a result, lactic acid is produced along with increasing of the pain, increase in pain. Okay. So next question is, what is being formed in the muscles? Lactic acid will be formed. So next is, what was the concentration of lactic acid in the blood to start with? So that is 200 milligrams per kilometer cube or km cube. So and so on. These are the small questions that is given in the textbook, and these are the answers. Okay. So next is the anaerobic respiration. What is anaerobic respiration? The oxidation process in which carbon dioxide produced and energy released, that is known as anaerobic respiration. So in this, then there is no use of oxygen. Human muscles release energy when they are short of oxygen. Okay. So here is some experiment with yeast. So here the testing for the production of the heat and carbon dioxide are released under the anaerobic respiration. Here we have to show that in this segment we have to show that. So heat is released, carbon dioxide is released, and under the anaerobic respiration. Okay, and that we have to show. Okay. So first of all, what is yeast? Yeast is unicellular organism. This is a unicellular organism. Only one cell is there, and is going to produce carbon dioxide temperature in the absence of oxygen. Okay. So here we have to take the wild yeast, means normal yeast. Okay, normal yeast. It is found on the skin of the fruit fly. So skin of the fruit fly means Drosophila. On the Drosophila, you can see this yeast and so on. So which they derive food materials. So here we have to arrange the material like in this way. Okay, this is a thermos flask. Okay, in the thermos flask we have to add some amount of water. This is a sugar solution. It means boiled sugar solution. We have to make sure the oxygen is not present. So to prevent the oxygen is not present, we have to heat the solution. So if we heat the sugar solution, the oxygen will be removed, and then add yeast at room temperature. So then add yeast at room temperature and mix a few drops of diazine green or Janus green B. So this is used an indicator for the oxygen to identify whether the oxygen is there or not. So the blue dye of indicator turns into pink in the presence of oxygen. For example, if the oxygen is there, this blue color dye, that is Janus green B, is going to turn into pink color. Pink color indicates that oxygen is present in the solution or media. Okay. So next, pour paraffin wax on it. After pouring paraffin wax, what you have to do? You have to wait for some time. The paraffin wax will settle down, and arrange the apparatus in this way. So after that, what will happen? Slowly the yeast is going to increase its population. It is going to feed on the glucose. Okay, and it is going to produce a heat and a temperature. So it is going to produce carbon dioxide and also heat. You can measure the heat in terms of in thermometer. In thermometer, you can measure the heat increase. Along with that, the carbon dioxide will be produced. The carbon dioxide will travel through the paraffin wax sides, and also it will enter into delivery tube, and it will move into the another test tube containing bicarbonate solution. As this bicarbonate solution will react with the carbon dioxide, and it gives rise to a color that is milky white. Okay, the milky white appearance. So it is an indication for the presence of carbon dioxide. Okay, and there is a question. That question is, what happens when the baker prepares dough by mixing yeast? What is going to happen? Here the yeast is going to ferment the dough. Okay, that is the fermentation process. Along with increasing in the volume of the dough, the volume of the dough is going to increase, and also taste of dough is also going to change. It means that dough will turn into sour taste, and also it will release carbon dioxide. So this is about this is about the fermentation. Okay, and I hope this lecture is helpful to you, and if you have any doubts or questions, feel free to post in the comment section and we will respond and we will answer to it. Okay, and we will discuss the next topic in the next lesson.